for 2 to 3 minutes. So now whether this slide is visible? Anyone please respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now see how many people are there in this. It is not visible to me. It was near about 30. Whether all have come from there? What is the number of people saying?
41, sir. 41.
31. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I think then we can start. Majority of the people have come now back to this. So we have discussed about the what advantages of top-down estimation, and then we have also discussed about. Now let's see about the drawbacks of this or minus points, negative points of top-down estimation. I have already told you that top-down estimation does not take into account the difficulty of the low-level problems. It does not take into consideration the difficult low-level problems. Normally, top-down estimation, it tends to underestimate the low-level components. It tends to overlook the complexity of low-level components. It just somehow it ignores them. It does not consider what are the complexities of the low-level components. It provides no detailed basis for justifying the decisions or estimates. How you have taken this decision, how you have prepared this estimation, this top-down estimation, it does not provide any detailed basis for giving justifications regarding the decisions on the estimates or the decisions or the estimates. Now let's see the advantages of bottom-up estimation. Bottom-up estimation permits the software group to estimate in an almost traditional fashion, just like as I have already told you this bottom-up design. So this bottom-up estimation, it permits the different software engineers, software developers, or the software group to estimate in an almost traditional fashion. Each group, there might be different groups. So one group may do this the design, another group may do the coding, another group may do the testing. Similarly, while you will come to testing, one group may do the unit testing, another group may perform the integration testing, another group may perform the system level testing. So here each group estimates the different components for which it has adequate experience. Okay, so you are a testing group or system testing group, you are a system testing group, you can provide the estimate for the system level testing because you are having adequate experience in that. If you are a coding person, so you can easily do coding and unit testing, so you can give the estimate required for unit testing. So here each group estimates components for which it has adequate. Yes.
Yes.
Hello. Okay, so each group estimates the components for which it has adequate experience. It is more stable than the top-down approach. Okay, bottom-up estimation is more stable than the top-down estimates because the estimation errors in the different components, they more or less they are balanced out. Okay, they more or less balance out. So that's why it is bottom-up estimation is more stable than the top-down estimation. Now let's quickly look at the drawbacks of bottom-up testing. Bottom-up testing may overlook many of the system level costs. So we have seen that top-down approach, it may overcome many of the lower level aspects. Similarly, bottom-up estimation, it may overlook many of the system level tests such as this coding, design, testing, etc. So it may overlook many of the system level costs such as integration, configuration management, quality assurance, etc. These things may be skipped, may be overlooked by bottom-up estimation approach. It may be inaccurate because the necessary information may not be available in the early phase. Bottom level estimation, you are starting from the scratch, you are starting from the very beginning. By that time, much of the information you may not have. So it may be, so the estimation produced by bottom-up method may be inaccurate. It may be inaccurate because the necessary information may not be available in the early phase at the very beginning. it tends to be more time consuming. So we have seen top-down approach is easy for implementation, it is less time consuming, but in bottom-up estimation, we have to start from the very beginning, from the scratch, so it tends to be more time consuming. These are some of the drawbacks of bottom-up estimation. Now let's will go to the next type of estimation model, that is what? Algorithmic or parametric model. Okay, next method is algorithmic or parametric model. Now let's see what should the criteria for a good algorithmic or parametric model. This is the last model we'll discuss today. So let's see first the criteria for a good algorithmic or a parametric model. First criteria is that problem should be very much defined. It should have a clear procedure. It must be accurate. There should be a clear-cut objective. It should avoid the subjective factors, because whenever the subjective factors are there, it will lead to ambiguousness, and it will lead to ambiguity. The results should be understandable. Results obtained or the estimations which are obtained by using any algorithm model, that should be understandable by all. It should be stable. That means the results should be valid for a wide range of parameter values, not just for only 1, 2 values, 1 or 5. It should be available. It should be valid for a wide range of parameter values. It should be easy to use. People can easily use the obtained estimations. It should be causal. That means future data not required. What estimation I will do based on the present data. Future data are not required. So these are the criteria required for a good algorithmic model or parametric model. So you know, these things we have already discussed. For algorithmic models, for project planning, we need two important parameters, effort and duration. And if we can estimate the effort, easily we can estimate the cost. I have already told you that it is very much hard, it is very much difficult to estimate effort or cost or duration directly from a problem description, directly from the SRS document. So we require how we can do. The effort and duration can be measured in terms of certain project characteristics that correlate with it. What is that project characteristic? Size. By using what? Size, we can estimate indirectly the effort and cost. They cannot be directly estimated. Effort and cost or duration, they cannot be directly estimated from the problem description. First, we have to compute or estimate the size. Then, by using the estimate of the size, we can estimate the effort or cost or duration. What is software size? We have already discussed. I will not repeat again. I have already discussed size, SLOC, function point. We will discuss in some of the next class. So let's quickly look at the algorithmic or the parametric models. So some examples of algorithmic or parametric models are COCOMO. We'll discuss COCOMO in next class, or you can say COCOMO is also based on the lines of code. So COCOMO and function points, they are very good examples of these algorithmic or parametric models. Now let's quickly see one of the problem associated with LOC based models or COCOMO. What is that problem? Let's see. In COCOMO or LOC, first we guess something. What will the size or what will the cost, etc. we guess. Then we apply this guess value on an algorithm. We provide this initial value, we provide this guess value, we provide this initial guess value to the algorithm, and which will give an estimate of maybe the size or the cost or the effort or the duration, etc. But what is desired? We desire that instead of guessing, if we can take some system characteristics, and those system characteristics, if they can be supplied to the algorithm as input, which in turn what produce the final output. What will the final output? The estimate. This is desirable. From the system characteristic, you should get the estimate, because if the system characteristic varies, if the system characteristic changes, or if the system characteristics change, then the algorithm should produce different estimate. This is desired. But the COCOMO or the lines of code or this function point, they are based on this principle. You have to initially make some guess, then that guess value will be passed as an argument to the, or passed as some input to the algorithm. Then that algorithm will give the estimated value. This is the problem with these LOC based models. But we require about from a system characteristic, we should be able to compute. We should find out the estimate by using some algorithm. Okay, so this is what we should see. Now let's see what are the algorithmic methods are, what pros point and your advantages and disadvantages. So please remember, our objective is we should try to generate estimates from the system characteristics by using algorithm. But LOC based models like COCOMO or LOC etc., they generate they find out, they obtain the estimate by using a guess value, by supplying the guess value to the algorithm. Now let's see some of the advantages of algorithm methods. It is able to generate repeatable estimations. Okay, if you are using in algorithmic methods, parametric models, then it is able to generate repeatable estimations. These estimations can be repeatable in nature. It is easy to modify the input data, refine and customize the formulas. It is very much easy to modify, change the input data. You can refine the input data and you can also customize the formulas. It is very much efficient and able to support a family of estimations or a sensitivity analysis. It does not just, it will work for only one estimation. It can support a family of estimations or a sensitivity analysis. It can be meaningfully calibrated to previous experience. If you are having some previous experience, the value obtained by algorithm methods, it can be meaningfully calibrated to previous experience. And regarding the flip side, algorithm models, they lack means to deal with exceptional conditions. If you are having some exceptional conditions, these models may not be appropriate. For example, exceptional teamwork. Your team is very much motivational, very much hardworking. So exceptional teamwork, exceptional match between skill levels and the tasks. So these are the special tasks of your project, and you are having exactly a very good matching between the skills of your employees and the tasks. So those kind of exceptional conditions cannot be dealt with. Yes, algorithm models methods, they cannot deal with these exceptional conditions. Another most important problem is that poor sizing inputs and inaccurate cost driver rating will result in inaccurate estimation. If that LOC you have guessed, it is wrong. If it is inaccurate, if the initial size you have computed, you have estimated LOC, if it is inaccurate, and if the cost drivers that you have selected, they are also having inaccurate values, then automatically the final estimation will be inaccurate. This is the drawback of the algorithmic methods. Some factors such as experience of the employees cannot be easily quantified. You are taking different cost drivers. One cost driver might be the experience of the your employees. So some factors such as the experience of the employees, they cannot be easily quantified. So this is and if they cannot be quantified, your final estimation may not be accurate. This is another drawback of algorithmic methods. So I have already told you something. One of the advantage here I have told, please see. The algorithmic methods, they can be meaningfully calibrated to previous experience. What do you mean calibrated? Let's see how the algorithmic methods, they can be calibrated to the previous experience and how can calibrate. That's why one slide I have kept here for this calibration. Model calibration. Many models are developed for specific situations. Okay, you see, different models or several models, they are developed only for specific situations, like one for this blast furnace regarding the estimations, another for a satellite satellite launching project. So these are very specialized situations. So many models are developed for specific situations. Okay, many models are developed. Many models, they are developed for specific situations and are by definition calibrated to that situation. They are deliberately calibrated to that situation. See, a blast furnace, you are estimating some cost or time for a blast furnace application. You cannot use it for a student information system. Similarly, you have made some estimation for launching of a satellite or launching of a rocket. So these kind of things cannot be applicable to student information system. So that's why many models which are developed for specific situations, and by definition they have to be calibrated. They are calibrated to that particular situation. They are not generalized. They are calibrated. They are customized to fit to that situation. Such models usually are not very useful outside of that particular environment. Very true. Say on blast furnace application, that estimation you cannot use it outside regarding a examination system or student information system or a payroll system. Similarly, software or estimation for a rocket, launching of rocket or launching of satellite, it cannot be useful outside that domain, maybe outside for what your student information system or hospital information system or this examination system. So these models, they are only fit, they are only suitable for that particular situation. They are not useful outside of that particular environment. Calibration is needed to increase the accuracy of one of the general models. So if you have developed some general models, you want to fit it to some specific situation, you have to make calibration, you have to customize it so that the accuracy of these general models can be improved when they are used at that particular situation. So, or in that particular environment. So calibration is needed to increase the accuracy of one of these models. Calibration is in a sense customizing a generic model. Okay, calibration means what? You have to customize a generic model. As I was saying, in the market, ready-made academic management packages are there. And suppose in NIT Rourkela, like the concept of professional elective or the open elective, pre-registration, these features are there, which may not be there in the general model or generic model. So you have to purchase that one, then you have to customize according to your need. This customization process is known as calibration. So calibration is in a sense customizing a generic model. Items that can be calibrated in a model include what? So what things you can calibrate? What things you can customize? The following things. Like what are the different types of products, different operating environments, labor rates, and the different factors associated with the labor rates, various relationships between the functional cost items, etc. So these things can be calibrated in a or in an estimation model. Some recommendations you can see, like do not depend on a single cost or a schedule estimate. So far we have seen what kind of estimate, what estimation models: price to win, expert judgment, and top-down, bottom-up approach, and then parametric or algorithmic models like this. So these things we have studied. So please do not depend on a single cost or a schedule estimate, because one model may give you a inaccurate result. So that's why do not depend on a single cost or a schedule estimate or a particular estimation technique. You may use several estimating techniques or cost models. Okay, you may use more than one estimating techniques or cost model so that you can compare them. You can see which model is giving most accurate result. You can compare the results obtained by the different techniques and determine the regions for any large variations. If they are very much close, then they are that is okay. If they are differing with a larger extent, find out what are the regions, why they are showing large variations. Then you can take the appropriate output of the appropriate model, which model is best that you can choose. If any one model is varying largely from the other model, you have to find out which one is faulty and which one may be accurate. Then you take that one, the accurate model you may consider. Document the assumptions made when making the estimates. When you are making the different estimates, document all the assumptions that you have taken, like the what is the environment, what parameters you have taken, like this. So document all the assumptions made when making the estimates. Monitor the project to detect when assumptions that turn out to be wrong jeopardize the accuracy of the estimate. So while you are developing the project, you have to monitor the project to detect when assumptions that turn out to be wrong. So because I have already told you, while you are making some estimations, you might have taken some assumptions. You have to monitor the project because these assumptions you have taken that might be wrong, and hence that will jeopardize the accuracy of the estimate. So during the development of the project, you have to closely monitor the project in order to detect what assumptions you have taken, whether they are correct or wrong, and when assumptions they become wrong, then that might jeopardize the accuracy of the estimate. So you have to closely monitor the progress of the project, and whenever you feel that the assumptions you have taken actually they are wrong, then you have to again start from the beginning and you have to re-estimate. Improve the software process. So whatever the software process you are using, improve the software process, maintain a historical database. So in order to improve the software process, you maintain a historical database or your past experience, all the details of the past data you maintain in a historical database. In this way, you can improve the software process. So these are some of the recommendations while using the different estimation models we have discussed in the last class and today. Let's quickly take a simplistic model. I was discussing about the parametric model or the algorithmic model. Let's see a simple simplistic model where the effort can be estimated like this. This is equal to the system size. You can consider in terms of LOC or so divided by productivity. As an example, you can see that here system size may be considered in terms of LOC, lines of code. Productivity may be considered lines of code developed per day. So per day, how many lines of code you are developing? So productivity can be defined as system size divided by the effort that you are putting. So this productivity it may be based on the past projects. Okay, this is a simplistic model we have shown here, where effort can be computed as system size by productivity, and if you want to recalculate, productivity can be computed as system size by effort. So productivity it can be calculated based on the past project. So this is a very simplistic model. So what is wrong with the simplistic model? Please find out. So we have given a very simple model that effort is equal to system size by productivity. There are many drawbacks of LOC. What is wrong with the simplistic model? Here we may see the we may give the hints. Here you have taken into account system size. There are many drawbacks of system size that we have already discussed. So by looking at the drawbacks of the LOC, you can find out what is wrong with this simplistic model. Okay. This example, actually, this is related to some other things are there. We will discuss in sometimes later in this thing. Or one part you may only see. So it's saying that consider a transaction project of 38,000 lines of code. What is the shortest time it will take to develop? And productivity is about the productivity given 400 LOC per staff month, because here it is productivity definition is given. It is lines of code per day. It's saying. So it is here unit is per month, staff month is given. So productivity out to 400 SLOC per staff month. So it is saying that effort, we know the formula simplistic approach, effort is equal to how much? System size by productivity. So we can say that effort is equal to what size by productivity, isn't it? Effort is equal to size divided by productivity. If you see this one, so effort is equal to productivity to the power minus 1 or size by productivity. And if you see that productivity is given like this, it is 400 SLOC. You can take so here there we have 10 productivity code, for example, code per day. Here it is taken as code per month. That is the productivity it's given. So and this is size by this. Size is given almost 38,000 lines. That means 38K SLOC. And it is also SLOC. It has to be converted into kilo. So 1 by 0.400 K SLOC. So this will give you what? The effort. So you can compute effort is equal to say 100 staff month. And after computing the effort, you have to compute what? What is the shortest time? So shortest time, there is another formula for the minimum time. So this formula we have not discussed. So that's why this formula we can take up in the next class. So this now you can only compute the effort by looking at this simplistic model. Effort is equal to size by productivity, and for this problem effort is computed as using this formula. It is 100 SM, and what is the minimum time required? That is dependent on another formula. That formula I have not told here. So this we'll discuss in some of the next class after this formula is being discussed in the class. We may discuss it in some later time if time permits. In the last two classes, we have discussed about various estimation methods, some such as price to win estimation method. We have also presented the size estimation. We also discussed the expert judgment based estimation techniques such as basic judgment, weighted average estimating, consensus estimating, Delphi technique. These four techniques are coming under expert judgment technique. We have seen in detail along with their advantages and disadvantages. We have explained the analogy based estimation. We have also discussed right now the top down and the bottom up estimation techniques. We have also discussed the algorithmic and parametric models for the project estimation. Okay, we have discussed the algorithmic and parametric models for project estimation. We have also discussed the advantages and disadvantages of the algorithmic and parametric models for project estimation. Please have a look into this, read yourself from these two books you have taken. Any doubt, you please ask me. Okay, if there is any doubt, please ask me. You can ask me right now or on tomorrow. Okay, if any doubt, please ask me. Otherwise, we have to stop here.